Should we start talking about home form? Because I'm just thinking, a couple of wins at home in the last week, and you've got another home game now, and a few wins earlier in the season at home as well. I wonder how much importance you place on that, because you've got the home that you've got and the fan base that you've got in this division. Do you place sort of a bit of extra importance on that kind of home form?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's obviously it's good to play well in front of your own fans, and I think we've had the one game against Woking where the last 20 minutes was a bit of a disaster, but other than that I think we've been pretty strong at home. The results would say that too. I think it's good because we have great fans and a good atmosphere, and that makes, we really want to make that count. But also I think the playing surface is fantastic. That helps us play the football that we want. So I guess a lot of pluses for us when we're at home.
And it is great as well when you get a crowd like, 7,500 for a National League game. If you went to any other country and said in the fifth tier of English football you're going to get a crowd of 7,500, they wouldn't believe it.
Yeah, I get some of my friends over in Sweden watch the highlights sometimes, and they're shocked when they see the ground and the amount of people that are there, and the quality of the football as well for like what you would say is a fifth tier. Because certainly you go down to the fifth tier in Sweden and it's nowhere near that. So I think I think if you'd have dropped in and seen that game, I don't think you'd have thought that was the fifth tier of English football. I think you'd have assumed it was much higher, and also the quality of some of our play I think merited that. And I think clubs like Stockport, when they bring such a large following and you've got 2,000 away fans that play their part in it, it really does make for a great atmosphere.
I think sometimes when you've got a ground like that, it can be a negative because it can bring with it its own pressures. But it seems like what you've got is a load of players who thoroughly love it and embrace it. Frank Vincent was talking after the game, the biggest crowd he's played in front of, and how he loved it. And he's playing better in that than he did last year in front of no crowd. You've got players who really embrace that, haven't you?
Yeah, I think we all do, myself included. We like the big games and we like to be that little extra pressure and to feel a big crowd. I think one of our most focused and disciplined games was away at Wrexham, and the crowd there, it was the first time they'd had fans for a couple of years, and it was a great atmosphere there, and we all kind of raised our game. I've just been sat talking to Matty Palmer, and we were just talking about the progress and where we're going, and one of the things that we were discussing is how can we get this same intensity and focus when we're away against clubs where there's a smaller crowd or an expectation that we should win, and we've got to try and get that same intensity and focus for 90 minutes in those games as well. So I think all of us kind of revel in the good atmosphere and playing at home. So we just got to make sure we continue that and raise our game, no matter who we play.
I'd like to talk to you about the midfield at the minute as well, because you've got that strong-looking midfield. You've been able to bring Frank Vincent into it at the minute. How pleased are you with the dynamic of that and the options that you've got in there just at the minute?
Yeah, really happy. We obviously had Francis started the season, and he did very well. He got some assists and controlled the games nicely for us in there. I think Matt Palmer's dropped in there and given us something as well, certainly in the build-up and the way in which we want to try and control the game. And now we've got good options. Ed can come in. We've got players like Ruben can drop into the 8, and Cal Roberts can play in there also. But then we've got Frank and Jim's energy and running. It felt like we've got real good legs in there in this game, and I think that's going to be important for us. We come up against a lot of teams that work extremely hard, well organised and disciplined, and so that kind of players that give the energy are going to be really important.
And keeping those happy who aren't in the team. Frank Vincent, again, was talking at the weekend about how he's kept his mood up and tried to be a positive influence around the training ground rather than letting any frustration of not being in the team kind of get to him and to affect others. I wonder from your point of view how important that is and how much energy you end up expending on those that aren't in the team in order to keep that morale going around the whole squad.
I think I've shown since I've been here that if you do the right things in training and you apply yourself, you get the right opportunities and that's rewarded. And I think we had that at the back end of last season. Players like Calvin Miller, that was out of the squad completely, started training unbelievably hard and found his way in. Frank Vincent's done it this season now. Now there's players on the periphery that are missing out, and the demands on them are to step up, work hard, show the right mentality every day. and that the door is never closed. So football changes so quick. Frank Vincent will tell you that from what's happened with him in the last week, and it will change again during the season. I think we have some really good characters. I watched Doyle led the session today, and I watched some of the players that didn't start the game, and they trained brilliantly well. And players like Adam Chickson, they drive that training, and I think to have guys like that with that mentality is massive, because 11 players won't give us anything. It's going to be the whole squad that contributes if we're going to succeed.
Yeah. And how much of that is about you communicating with them and keeping that open, or is that just kind of known amongst the players that it'll be dealt with fairly?
Yeah, I think they think. I hope that the players see me as somebody that's fair, that judges people on merit and gives opportunities to everybody. And the door is never closed. They can come and talk to me anytime if they want to know what they can do better to reach the team and stay in there. And obviously I use time to talk to players when they're if I feel they need it or they're struggling, and we have good communication. So that's no problem for me.
Got Bromley coming up, and I was making the point to Carl Woodson a moment ago. If you didn't really follow non-league football, you'd look at the league table and think, well, how are Bromley up there? Given the size of some of the clubs in the division. But you look at them; they've got a striker who scores 20 goals a season. They've won 6 in a row. Yeah. They don't know when they're beaten, as they showed at Aldershot at the weekend. They're well worth their position at the table, aren't they?
Absolutely. I think Andy's done a brilliant job there. There's no doubt about it. We kind of felt that back end of last season. They drew 2-2 here. I thought we deserved to win that game. We went away on the last game of the season. First half we were excellent, but second half like this, they never gave up. They were very, very well organised. They're a very well organised team. They work extremely hard. Every player is running for the manager there. I can see that. And then they've got lots of different threats. Cheek up front is a real handful. Scores goals. They've got legs and running. So it's a tough test. I can see. I've watched them now, and I can. They've had a brilliant season so far, and they will provide us with a real challenge tomorrow. And I think it can be a very entertaining game because certainly they are absolutely flying and will come into this very high. So we have to compete with that straight away.
And this, I guess, is a run of fixtures where, given the great performance of the weekend and as you said, Charlie, best performance of the season so far, those levels are going to have to stay up, aren't they? Given the calibre of the opposition you've got coming up, I guess not just this time, but then Grimsby at the weekend. Yeah,
I mean, like I said, I think we've got to kind of take this mentality into every game, regardless of who we're playing against and how big the game is. But certainly we've got to bring some of the things that we did. It'll be a different kind of game. Stockport came and pressed us quite high, and we got through that press well. I don't know that Bromley will necessarily be as high. I think they've been quite good to be more disciplined and compact, especially away from home. So it'll be a different challenge that we've got to face, but nonetheless we've got to kind of attack it exactly the same mindset that we did the game on Saturday.